Hello students, in today's class, let us discuss about the conditions for maximum and minimum intensities in an interference process. So in the last class, we have already seen about different properties of light which propagates as a wave, and we have studied this superposition principle which actually accounts for the formation of resultant wave when two or more waves joins together in a space. So it actually states that the resultant wave, its amplitude will be the vector sum of the individual waves, the amplitude of the individual waves that are meeting up. So the resultant disturbance produced at the space due to the interference of these waves will simply be the sum of each individual disturbance. Here you have to notice that the amplitude of the wave is getting added up, and the resultant amplitude will be the vector sum of the amplitude of each of the individual waves. And this process of superposition of waves actually plays a role in the interference of light waves. In interference, different waves joins together and form different patterns of dark and bright bands or fringes in space. So when we come into interference, clearly there can be two different types of interference. That is, it can be either constructive or it can be destructive. In constructive interference, when waves meet up, they act together in such a way that the resultant wave is amplified. The resultant wave is getting more amplitude and it is getting more intensified. So as you can see here two waves are meeting up, waves 1 and 2. When they meet together, they will produce an even bigger wave in the space. So this is getting adding up according to the principle of superposition. So as you can see, here we have a crest. The crest of the next one is actually aligning with the previous one. So when they add up, the crest will add up, the troughs will add up, and each of the points will add up, resulting in a very big wave or a wave with higher amplitude and higher intensity. So this is the process of constructive interference. As the name suggests, this is constructive. That means the resultant wave is getting amplified. So you can imagine it like this. One wave is flowing like this. The next wave, the crest of the next wave is actually aligned with the crest of the initial wave. So when these two waves add up, the resultant will be an even bigger wave. So its amplitude, resultant amplitude A dash is equal to A plus A, where A is the amplitude of each of the individual waves. Now coming to the term intensity. Intensity and amplitude are related but slightly different in the case of wave. So as we have seen, amplitude is the maximum peak point or the height of the crest of a wave, and the intensity and amplitude are related as I is proportional to amplitude square. In an interference process, according to the superposition principle, it is the amplitude that is getting added up or subtracted down. The intensity should be found from the resultant amplitude of the wave. For example, in the case of constructive interference, if it is constructive, we have seen that the resultant amplitude AR or A dash is equal to A plus A is equal to 2A. The resultant wave will have twice the amplitude as that of the initial wave, right? If it has A amplitude and this one also has A amplitude, and if they are adding up constructively, the resultant wave will have 2A as its amplitude. So if amplitude is 2A, then intensity is amplitude square, resultant intensity is amplitude square, 2A the whole square is equal to 4A square. But if we calculate the independent intensity of each of the waves, here this intensity I1 is equal to its amplitude square, here this intensity I2 is equal to its amplitude square. So as we can see, the sum of the intensities of these two, I1 plus I2, is A square plus A square, which is equal to 2A square, right? But when these waves meet up constructively, the resultant wave has an amplitude of 4A square, which is actually greater than 2A square, which is actually I1 plus I2. So as we can see, when waves meet up constructively, the resultant intensity is actually even bigger than the individual intensities of each of the waves. The amplitude gets added up and it will have an even pronounced effect on the intensity. Intensity is getting even bigger. It should have been 2A square according to our common logic, but now it is 4A square because the amplitude is what is getting added up in an interference process in the constructive interference. Now the next converse effect that we could study is the destructive interference, where the waves meet up destructively and produce a null effect. As if you can see here we have the one of the waves and the other one is aligned in such a way that they cancel out exactly each other. For example, the crest of one of the waves is aligned with the trough of the other one. So when they meet up, they will cancel out. The resultant amplitude will be 0. Similarly, for each of the points here, there is an exact opposite point that is aligning with it and cancelling each other. So as you can see, the resultant amplitude AR will be A minus A here, which is equal to 0. So we will have no wave or 0 wave in this case. This is called destructive interference. So this happens when two waves of same wavelength meet up in exact opposite phase. So remember this term phase. So as you can see here, they are aligning exactly opposite, right? So this is what we understand by the term phase. Each of the point that is distributed in this figure, you will understand it when we analyze the wave equation and all. So it actually determines what point stands at which point in space. So here the crest comes here and trough comes here, right? So this alignment is actually determined by the phase of the wave. So when these waves have exact opposite phase, they will cancel out destructively, and when they are in phase, they add up constructively, and they add up destructively when they are in opposite phase or when they are in out of phase. So remember this term phase when we discuss about further details in the future. Now coming to the intensity in the case of destructive interference. So as we have seen, the amplitude is the factor that gets added up or subtracted down in an interference process. Here in the destructive interference case, since the waves are out of phase, they will cancel out each other and the resultant amplitude is 0. Earlier it was A plus A. So what is the resultant intensity? It is amplitude square, which is equal to 0. The intensity of the first wave is I1, which is A square. The intensity of the second wave is again A square, but they added up to give a resultant intensity of 0. So this is what is happening in the destructive interference process. Waves get cancelled out and produce 0 intensity. So these are the two different types of interference process that we can see: constructive interference and destructive interference of waves. And at a point where consistent constructive interference is formed, we will have a bright band that will correspond to a very bright region in space. So when two light waves are converging together, when they interfere, if they are constructively interfering, then we will have a bright band in space or bright region in space. Similarly, destructive interference will give darkness or a dark band or region in space. So in interference process, this constructive interference and destructive interference are consistently happening at different regions in space, so that we get patterns of light and dark bands. For example, as we will see later, we will study about Young's double slit experiment, where two waves are produced from two slits and they are allowed to interfere. In that case, we will see a number of dark and bright bands. Each of the bright band is formed due to constructive interference, and each of the dark band is formed due to destructive interference. Similarly, we will study about Newton's rings, which is another phenomena where we can observe this interference. Here we will see circular patterns of bright bands and dark bands. So as we have already mentioned, these bright regions are formed due to constructive interference and these dark regions are formed due to destructive interference. Now, to study about the conditions of constructive interference and destructive interference, we will have to first understand a concept called geometrical and optical path length. Geometrical path length is what we have already understood about the term length. It just implies the physical distance between 2 points. So suppose this point is A and this point is B. The geometrical path length is simply the physical distance between these points, which is D. But when we study about optical path length, we will have to look into the difficulty faced by a light wave in propagating through this space. Suppose light is propagating through a medium of refractive index mu. Then we define the optical path length delta as the refractive index multiplied by the geometrical path length d. So this mu will actually account for the difference in medium. So when a light wave is propagating through air and when the same light wave is propagating through water, the same physical distance will not be covered in the same time, right? Through air, light can propagate easily. Through water, light will propagate slowly. So we will have to consider the refractive indices of these medium mu1 and mu2, and we define the optical path length delta as the product of refractive index mu and the physical distance or the geometrical path length d. So remember this concept of optical path length. We will have to multiply with refractive index to get the optical path length. Now let us understand the term optical path difference. So suppose we have two light sources, say A and B, and from there light wave is spreading through the space to every point, and suppose we consider a point P here and we want to check whether we will have a constructive interference or destructive interference here, or how these waves from A and B will meet up at this point. Then we will have to actually look into this concept called path difference, or say optical path difference. A light wave that is coming from A and B, in the case of its propagation from A, it will be propagating like this to reach the point P. Similarly, when a light wave moves from B, it will propagate through the space and finally reach the point P. Suppose A and B are coherent sources. That means suppose A and B are producing light waves of same wavelength, comparable frequency, same frequency, and these light waves from A and B is meeting up at P. So as you can see, they are moving different distances while it reaches the point P. In the case of a light wave coming from A, suppose if this distance is r1 and if this distance is r2, what is the optical path length that is traversed by a wave coming from A while it reaches P? So we can say the delta 1 is equal to mu1 into r1. Suppose this region is filled with a medium which has a refractive index mu1, then the optical path length is delta 1 is equal to mu1 into r1. And for a light ray coming from B up to the point P, if this region is filled with a medium with refractive index mu2, then we can write delta 2 equal to mu2 into r2. Normally this mu1 and mu2 will be same because mostly this space will be filled with air or similar material. But if these two regions are covered with different materials of different refractive indices, then we can say this optical path difference between them will be given by these equations 1 and 2. Then what is the path difference faced by a light wave reaching up at the point P? We can say that delta path difference is delta 1 minus delta 2, which is equal to mu1 R1 minus mu2 R2. So since A and B are coherent sources, they have same wavelength, same frequency and a constant phase difference. So these are the characteristic features of coherent sources. They have same wavelength, same frequency and constant phase difference. So if they are being produced from A and B in such a manner, when reaching P, still they will have a path difference of mu1 R1 minus mu2 R2, and we will have to look at this factor when we talk about the interference process at the point P. Now let us write down the conditions for maximum and minimum intensity in terms of the path difference faced by these different waves. For that, let us try to understand the process of constructive interference and destructive interference once again. So these are two sources S1 and S2, and from here S1 the physical distance up to the point P is R1, and from the source S2 the physical distance up to the point P is R2. Now in what condition would these waves meet together constructively at this point? So as you can see, they travel different paths while reaching P, and while on reaching P, if these waves have the same phase, if they are in phase at the point P, then these waves will add up constructively. That means if this path difference is actually an integral multiple of lambda, then these waves will meet up in phase, right? Suppose we actually want to have constructive interference, the process in which the crusts will meet up and the troughs will meet up, right? The crusts have to align and the troughs have to align. So this path difference should actually change one of the waves by an integral multiple of lambda. So as you can see here, both of them starts from here in phase or with a constant phase difference, and they are propagating through the space and reaching P. Here the troughs of them have to meet, or the crusts of them have to meet, or similar points of these waves have to meet. If that has to happen, the extra path traveled by one of the phase should be an integral multiple of m lambda. Then only they will meet up. I will show you. Suppose this is the first wave, and suppose the second wave is traveling an extra distance like this. It is coming from a previous source. Now in this case they are in phase, right? The crusts are aligning, the troughs are aligning, and they are in phase. And under this condition we can see the path difference should be an integral multiple of lambda. Or I will show with other sources. Suppose this is S1 and this is S2. One wave is propagating like this and the next one is propagating like this. And if they have to meet up here, crust to crust or trough to trough, one of the waves should have a path difference, extra path of m lambda. Either they have to have zero path difference or the path difference should be an integral multiple of lambda. You can try constructing waves coming from different sources, and you can actually see that only when the path difference is an integral multiple of m lambda, you can actually merge these waves in a constructive fashion. So we can say that the condition for maximum intensity is that the path difference, the optical path difference delta should be an integral multiple of the wavelength m lambda. m is an integer, m is equal to 0, 1, 2, 3, etc. So if they have no phase path difference, or if they have an integral multiple of wavelength lambda, they will meet up constructively and they will have a maximum intensity as the output. Similarly, in the case of destructive interference or minimum intensity, the paths, the different waves will have to add up out of phase. In that case, one wave, the crest of the one of the waves should meet with the trough of the other wave, right? They have to align exactly in opposite fashion so that they will cancel out each other. So in this case, the path difference should be an odd integral multiple of lambda by 2. If delta is equal to the optical path difference, delta is equal to 2m plus 1 into lambda by 2. 2m plus 1 will actually give you odd values only, right? If m varies from 0, 1, 2, 3, etc. 2m plus 1 are 1, 3, 5 and so on. This is an odd value. So if delta, the optical path difference, is an odd integral multiple of lambda by 2, then we will have destructive interference or minimum intensity. Earlier we had written the equation for delta. Delta is mu1 r1 minus mu2 r2. So if this delta that we had understood is equal to an odd integral multiple of wavelength, half the wavelength, then we will have destructive interference or minimum intensity. So please note that delta has to be an odd integral multiple of lambda by 2, half the wavelength. So in that case, if one of the wave is propagating like this, the other wave will start exactly like that, but its trough will come there because this has an extra lambda by 2. Here this much is 1 lambda. This is, suppose say this is other lambda by 2. So this total length is lambda plus lambda by 2 is equal to 3 lambda by 2. Here this is 1 lambda and this is the other lambda. Here the total distance is 2 lambda. What is the difference between them? 2 lambda minus 3 lambda by 2, which is equal to lambda by 2. So that is an odd integral multiple of lambda by 2. So they will meet up destructively here. So you can actually draw and actually see for yourself that if delta is equal to m lambda, waves will meet up constructively, and delta is equal to 2m plus 1 into lambda by 2, waves will meet destructively and we will have minimum intensity. So that is about the concept of constructive interference, destructive interference, and the conditions for maximum and minimum intensity. So try to remember that just delta is equal to m lambda correspond to constructive interference, brightness, maximum intensity and so on, and delta is equal to 2m plus 1 into lambda by 2 correspond to destructive interference, minimum intensity, dark region, etc. So I hope this portion is clear for you. Thank you.